Good morning and welcome to Auto Intelligence. I'm Steve and I'm here with Claire, and we're both part of the Auto Agentic team bringing you the sharp takes on what's really happening in our industry. Whether you're starting your day with that perfect cup of coffee or catching up during your commute, we've got your automotive intelligence covered.
That's right, Steve. Auto Intelligence drops every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday with the insights that matter most. And today, we're diving into something that should be keeping every automotive executive awake at night: cybersecurity. Because here's the reality. We're now halfway through 2025, and the connected car revolution has officially become a cybersecurity crisis.
Exactly. And before we dig in, a huge thank you to our growing audience. The response has been incredible, and we genuinely appreciate each of you tuning in. Now, Claire, when we look at the latest data from VicOne's 2025 Automotive Cybersecurity Report, released just this past March, the numbers are staggering.
They really are, Steve. We're looking at vehicles that now contain over 100 million lines of code, and some projections suggest that could reach 650 million lines by the end of this year. To put that in perspective, that's more complex than most enterprise software systems running Fortune 500 companies. Every single line represents a potential entry point for cybercriminals.
And the attacks are accelerating. According to Upstream Security's latest analysis, we saw 409 publicly reported cybersecurity incidents targeting the automotive sector in 2024 alone. That's up from 295 in 2023. But here's what's really concerning. Massive scale attacks impacting millions of vehicles jumped from 5% of incidents in 2023 to 19% last year.
That's a nearly fourfold increase in large-scale attacks, Steve. And VicOne's research estimates that cyber attacks between 2022 and 2024 cost our industry tens of billions of dollars. We're not talking about theoretical risks anymore. We're talking about real financial impact that's hitting bottom lines across the entire automotive ecosystem.
Let's start with the fundamentals here. When we talk about the attack surface of a modern vehicle, we're not talking about someone trying to jimmy a lock anymore. We're talking about what the industry now calls software-defined vehicles, or SDVs. These are rolling computers with infotainment systems, telematics, mobile apps, cloud integration, over-the-air updates, and vehicle-to-everything communications.
And the latest VicOne data shows that 77% of automotive vulnerabilities are found within onboard systems. That's not the charging infrastructure or the cloud, that's the car itself. The infotainment system you use to stream music could be the same pathway a hacker uses to access critical vehicle functions.
That brings us to something that really gets to the heart of this issue, the CAN bus. Claire, for our listeners who might not be familiar, can you explain what this is and why it's become such a critical vulnerability?
Absolutely. The Controller Area Network, or CAN bus, is essentially the central nervous system of your vehicle. It's how all the electronic control units, the ECUs, communicate with each other. Everything from your steering to your brakes to your entertainment system talks through this network. But here's the problem. It was designed in the 1980s when cybersecurity wasn't even a consideration.
Right, and that's where we get into some really concerning territory. The CAN bus lacks basic security features like encryption and authentication. So if an attacker gains access to this network, they can potentially inject commands that could disable brakes, unlock doors, or even take control of the vehicle entirely.
And Steve, this isn't theoretical anymore. Just this past January at Pun2Own Automotive 2025 in Tokyo, security researchers discovered 49 unique zero-day vulnerabilities across infotainment and charging systems. They were awarded over $886,000 for these discoveries, which tells you just how serious the industry is taking these threats.
That's a perfect example of how the threat landscape has evolved. The PE2Own event specifically focused on in-vehicle infotainment systems and EV charging infrastructure, and the researchers found vulnerabilities in systems from Sony, Alpine, and even Tesla. These aren't small, unknown companies. These are major players in our industry.
And it's not just about the technical vulnerabilities. We're seeing increasingly sophisticated social engineering attacks. Cybercriminals are now targeting EV owners with something called quishing, QR code phishing at charging stations. They place fake QR codes that redirect users to malicious websites, stealing credentials or installing malware on mobile devices.
The human element is crucial here. We're also seeing attackers use devices like the Flipper Zero, essentially a multi-tool for hackers to intercept keyless entry signals. Some manufacturers have responded by implementing engine immobilizers, which has dramatically reduced thefts, but others remain vulnerable.
And then there's the AI factor, which is really the double-edged sword of our industry right now. On one hand, AI is revolutionizing everything from voice assistants to autonomous driving. On the other hand, it's creating entirely new categories of vulnerabilities that we're just beginning to understand.
Exactly. The VicOne 2025 report specifically highlights that large language models used in generative AI are especially attractive targets for cybercriminals because of their dependency on critical enterprise data and their propensity for errors. We're seeing what researchers call prompt injection attacks, where voice assistants can be manipulated by adversarial commands.
Imagine someone being able to issue dangerous instructions to your vehicle's AI system just by playing specific audio patterns. And as AI models get deployed directly on vehicle hardware, we're seeing hardware-specific vulnerabilities that didn't exist even 2 years ago.
The complexity here is mind-boggling, and it's not just individual vehicles we need to worry about. As we move towards smart cities and vehicle-to-infrastructure communication, a single breach can cascade through an entire urban ecosystem. The latest reports emphasize that within a system of systems like the connected vehicle ecosystem, there are many points of interconnectedness.
That's where the national security implications become crystal clear. We're not just talking about car theft anymore. We're talking about the potential for coordinated attacks that could paralyze transportation networks, emergency services, and logistics.
Absolutely. Just this past January, the Department of Commerce issued a final rule to prohibit the import and sale of connected vehicle systems and vehicles from China and Russia, citing national security concerns. This wasn't just a proposal, this is now the law of the land.
And that's a recognition that this isn't just a commercial issue, it's a matter of national security. The rule specifically addresses the risks of espionage and remote sabotage through foreign-made hardware and software in connected vehicles.
You're listening to Auto Intelligence, brought to you by AutoAgentic, the platform transforming automotive retail with intelligent, human-centered AI. And speaking of intelligence, what we're seeing in cybersecurity is exactly why the automotive industry needs AI solutions that are built with security as a foundational principle, not an afterthought. Because when we talk about agentic AI in automotive retail, we're talking about systems that need to be both intelligent and secure. Now back to today's topic.
Thanks, Steve. So let's talk about what the industry is actually doing to address these threats. Because while the challenges are daunting, there are some genuinely innovative approaches being developed.
One of the most promising developments is the deployment of AI-driven security operations centers, or VSOCs. These systems use machine learning for real-time monitoring and automated threat detection across entire vehicle fleets. Instead of waiting for an attack to succeed, these systems can identify and respond to threats as they emerge.
And there's some fascinating work happening in post-quantum cryptography. The industry is investing in cryptographic algorithms and hardware designed to withstand attacks from quantum computers. It's a recognition that we need to be thinking decades ahead when it comes to security.
The concept of zero-trust architecture is also gaining serious traction. This is where every system and user must continuously authenticate and be monitored for anomalies. No implicit trust is granted, even within the vehicle's own network. It's a fundamental shift from the traditional approach of securing the perimeter.
But here's what I find most encouraging about the current landscape: the level of collaboration we're seeing. Events like Pontuone Automotive are fostering rapid discovery and coordinated response. The fact that researchers found 49 vulnerabilities at this year's event might sound alarming, but it's actually good news because these vulnerabilities were found by the good guys first.
That's a crucial point, Claire. The alternative is these vulnerabilities being discovered and exploited by malicious actors without anyone knowing. The transparency and collaboration in the security community is actually one of our strongest defenses.
And let's talk about some real-world examples of both the threats and the responses. We've seen major auto parts manufacturers affected by cloud provider compromises, where attackers deployed ransomware and disrupted operations across entire supply chains.
But we've also seen some success stories. 2 major OEMs experienced surges in thefts due to keyless entry vulnerabilities, but after implementing engine immobilizers and stronger encryption, thefts dropped sharply. It shows that when manufacturers take security seriously and act quickly, they can make a real difference.
The infotainment system hacks have been particularly eye-opening. At this year's Pun2Own event, researchers demonstrated the ability to steal personal information and intercept Bluetooth communications through compromised in-vehicle entertainment systems. These findings prompted rapid security patches and heightened scrutiny of third-party platforms.
And here's something that really drives home the sophistication of these attacks. We're not just dealing with individual hackers anymore. We're seeing organized criminal groups like Cactus, Lockbit, Play, and 8base specifically targeting our industry with significant resources and coordination.
The EV charging infrastructure has become a particular battleground. The Pun2Own event and recent reports heavily underscore that EV charging stations are a major new hotspot for cyber threats. Attackers can exploit outdated payment protocols to steal payment data or even compromise charging stations to destabilize local power grids.
That's where the cascading effects become really concerning. A compromised charging station isn't just about one vehicle. It can affect the entire electrical grid in that area, impacting homes, businesses, and critical infrastructure.
And the supply chain complexity makes everything more challenging. The automotive supply chain is incredibly complex with multiple suppliers and software vendors. A single vulnerability in a third-party component can have global repercussions. While large-scale supply chain attacks have been relatively rare so far, the risk is growing as dependencies increase.
Looking ahead, there are some genuinely exciting developments in AI-powered defenses. We're seeing advances in CAN-bus security, T-box protection, and adaptive defenses using neural networks and behavior tracking. The same AI technology that's creating new vulnerabilities is also being used to defend against them.
The over-the-air update capability that seemed like such a convenience feature is now becoming a critical security tool. The ability to rapidly patch vulnerabilities as they're discovered is no longer optional. It's a fundamental requirement for any connected vehicle.
But we also need to acknowledge the persistent challenges. There are millions of legacy vehicles on the road that lack basic security features and can't be easily updated. The complexity of automotive supply chains means coordination is difficult. And frankly, cyber risks often outpace the development and enforcement of standards.
That's where the concept of security by design becomes so important. Instead of bolting security onto existing systems, we need to build it into every layer from the ground up. This includes hardware isolation, enforcing separation between safety-critical and non-critical systems to prevent lateral movement by attackers.
The industry is finally embracing what experts call a culture of continuous vigilance and rapid response. Cross-industry collaboration, public-private partnerships, and threat intelligence sharing are becoming standard practice. We're moving away from the old model of security through obscurity toward transparency and collective defense.
And the regulatory response has been swift. The EU and other regions are developing cybersecurity standards for intelligent vehicles, focusing on supply chain security and incident response. But there's still what industry experts call the cyber gap, the widening disconnect between the pace of innovation and our ability to secure new technologies.
As we look at the current state of automotive cybersecurity in 2025, we're at a critical inflection point. The threats are real, they're growing, and they're becoming more sophisticated. But the industry response is also accelerating.
The stakes keep getting higher as we move toward more autonomous vehicles and smart city integration. The potential impact of a successful cyber attack grows exponentially. A coordinated attack on connected vehicles or smart city infrastructure could paralyze transportation networks, emergency services, and logistics.
That's why cybersecurity has become a geopolitical issue. China's rapid expansion in the EV market and their cybersecurity standards are reshaping global industry practices. The U.S. government's ban on Chinese and Russian connected vehicle technology is just the beginning of what's likely to be a much broader technological competition.
But let's be honest about where we stand. As CISA Director Jen Easterly puts it, cybersecurity isn't just about stopping threats, it's about enabling trust. And right now that trust is fragile. Consumers are becoming more aware of these risks, and they're starting to ask hard questions about the security of their vehicles.
Which brings us back to the fundamental challenge facing our industry. We're promising consumers safer, smarter, and more efficient mobility through connected and autonomous vehicles. But without robust cybersecurity, these benefits risk being overshadowed by threats that can endanger lives, compromise privacy, and destabilize societies.
The path forward requires unprecedented collaboration between automakers, governments, and cybersecurity experts. We need to build security into every layer of the vehicle and its ecosystem. We need standards and regulations that keep pace with innovation. And we need to invest in research, talent, and public awareness.
Most importantly, we need to embrace what the VicOne report calls a proactive, multi-layered approach to cybersecurity across all levels of the supply chain. This isn't a problem we can solve once and forget about. It's an ongoing challenge that requires constant attention and adaptation.
As we wrap up today's episode, I want to leave our listeners with this thought. The software-defined vehicle is here to stay. The benefits are real and transformative. But realizing those benefits requires us to take cybersecurity as seriously as we take safety, performance, and efficiency.
The automotive industry has always been about trust. Trust that your vehicle will start, trust that it will get you where you need to go safely, trust that it will protect you and your family. In the digital age, that trust extends to cybersecurity. And based on the data we've discussed today, we have significant work to do to earn and maintain that trust. Before we sign off, let's connect today's cybersecurity discussion to something that hits closer to home for our listeners. We've spent the last 16 minutes talking about the critical importance of security in connected vehicles, but the same principles apply to the AI tools you're using in your dealerships and OEM operations right now.
Exactly, Steve. When we talk about the need for security by design, zero trust architectures, and enterprise-grade protection, those aren't just concepts for future vehicles. They're requirements for the AI platforms you're implementing today.
That's why at AutoAgentic, we've built security into every layer of our platform from day one. We're SOC 2 certified, GDPR compliant, and HIPAA compliant because we know that automotive retail involves sensitive customer data that demands the highest level of protection.
And just like the vehicle manufacturers we've discussed today are implementing end-to-end encryption and enterprise-grade security APIs, that's exactly what protects every interaction and data exchange on the AutoAgentic platform. Whether you're managing leads, optimizing inventory, or scheduling service appointments, your data is secured with the same level of protection you'd expect from critical infrastructure.
The reality is, if cybercriminals are targeting connected vehicles with tens of billions in damages, they're certainly targeting the AI tools that run your business operations. When you're evaluating AI solutions for your dealership or OEM, security can't be an afterthought. It has to be foundational.
So when you're thinking about your AI tools for your dealership or OEM, you can feel secure partnering with AutoAgentic. Because in an industry where trust is everything, your AI platform should be as secure as the vehicles you're selling.
That's the AutoAgentic difference. Intelligent AI that's built with the security standards the automotive industry demands. Because great technology means nothing if you can't trust it with your business and your customers' data.
This episode was produced by the team at AutoAgentic. Learn more at autoagentic.ai.